I'm Michael Bain, and welcome to our second Triggered Special on the U.S. Concealed Carry Association Expo and Training event for 2021 that was held recently in Fort Worth, Texas. We're going to start out with somebody you will undoubtedly recognize, and that is Mr. Rob Pincus. Then we're going to look at the rise of laser training aids. When ammunition is expensive, there's always a way to get better. Let's go to the floor. We're here on the floor of the USCCA Expo with Mr. Pincus, Rob Pincus. You just spoke. Put this expo in context for us here.
So the USCCA Expo, I think it's been one of the faster growing, now 2020 doesn't count, right?
No,
but it's been one of the faster growing things in the community. Now USCCA is growing incredibly strong. I just heard Tim Schmidt say over 600,000 members now. And the Expo has grown right along with the membership. You know, 5 years ago, this was an idea. Like, should they have an Expo? They were talking about it, and they launched it, and it's just grown and grown and grown. And this year, I think it's especially important to the community because so many things are getting canceled. It's been so long since people have been able to get together in the gun community that I was really excited for them to have it and for me to be able to speak at it.
One thing I talked to Tim about yesterday is the 8-9 million new people we have within the culture, of which only a small percentage of those are looking at training.
Right.
Far too small.
Yeah. Well, but you know, you think about it, 110 million gun owners before the pandemic, and how many of them were showing up to classes. So it's probably unfortunately typical, but I think this is one of the things I love about USCCA. They are so focused on education. I mean, going back to when I met Tim in 2004 or 5, it was all about the magazine articles and would you like to contribute an educational article to the magazine? And they've gone step. The counter ambush program I did with them in 2013, and now the defensive shooting fundamentals program that we have. I just really appreciate and applaud their dedication to education.
Let's touch on another subject here while I have you. You know, we've talked a lot about home-built firearms. It's become a huge national controversy. We're looking at heaven knows what kind of rules we're looking at.
Yeah, it's a lot of drama and a lot of politics around private gun making that's been happening since guns, right?
Yeah,
like the first guns were made privately. Okay, so we know this. Now historically, private gun making I think was seen as this very esoteric, very involved, very kind of industry heavy thing you would have to do. You'd have to have special tools and work metal. Well, now we've got 3D printing, and now we've got companies like Polymer 80 that have mainstreamed gun building kits. All of this has been legal forever. All of this has been a fun freedom hobby, is what I call it, forever. And now it's gotten this nefarious, kind of pall that's been cast upon it with the term ghost guns. Ghost guns used to be something that we said kind of as a joke, right? Like kind of joking, oh, the gun's off the books, it's a ghost gun. But now it's tied in with criminals who are trying to scrape serial numbers off of guns, or guns that are stolen, and now they're off the record of the people. We know that person bought it, but now it's been stolen and it's ghosted. And they're tying that to this idea of the freedom hobby. And as you know, you were at the Gunmakers match. We are starting to promote gun making, just like the USCCA promotes education to all gun owners. We're promoting gun making to all gun owners. Why not get into it? It's fun.
And that is exactly the same thing that Midway and Brownells did all the way back. It was like, look at all these tools. You remember the Brownells catalog would come and go like, look at all these tools.
It was
you
the
can
best.
build your own gun.
Yeah,
and nothing changed.
No, it's the same thing. And I use Brownells a lot. Like, so sure, JSD Supply and Polymer 80 and all the 3D printing stuff, Riptide rails, these are all new. And it's like, oh, this new technology. But Brownells for decades has been turning people into home gunsmiths, selling them the kits, selling them the tools, selling them the parts. And we've been building AR-15s from parts. We've been building Glocks and Glock clones from parts, and we've been putting new triggers in, putting new sights on. And this is just one step further over the line to actually manufacture the thing that as a licensed manufacturer with Avidity Arms, I have to put a serial number on it and put it in a book. When you build it yourself, you don't. And that's okay.
It's okay.
Yeah.
Because as you said before, this is something that is common. The other thing I think that most people don't realize is the only time really tracing firearms works well is on television shows.
Yeah, exactly.
It doesn't actually do that in the real world.
Right.
I've talked to some of the top forensic ballisticians in the world, and they're like, it's on television, Michael. It doesn't work that in the real world.
Yeah, it is amazing to me how the faith that people put into this magic number that's on the gun, that suddenly because the gun has the number, we're going to solve all the crimes, or because, people talk about micro stamping and all this thing, and it's like, you know what? At the end of the day, that I worked in law enforcement, right? I still do a lot of training in the law enforcement community. The thing that gets murderers caught is murderers. right? It's not science. 99.999% of the times you catch a murderer, it's because of the murderer's behavior, the murderer's mistakes, what the witnesses saw, the traces they left behind of evidence, like their driver's license, like their clothing was like their car is parked in front of the building. It's not because somebody picks up the thing and puts it in the baggie and runs it in the computer database and all the screens on the walls that don't exist in the real world say, go to 55 Smith Street, that's where he lives. That's not real.
A homicide detective told me a couple of years ago, he goes, why do criminals not reflexively grind the serial numbers off their guns? And he goes, because it doesn't matter.
Not in the least.
Okay.
Right. If the guy has the gun on him that was used to shoot the person, that's when the gun plays a role in that case being solved. But at the end of the day, you know, I used to do dive recovery, right? We'd find guns in the bottom of the lake. It wasn't the serial number that told us it was the guy. It was the guy's girlfriend. It said, yeah, that's his gun. That's how we found out.
He threw it in the lake.
Yeah, I was with him. Right, exactly. So.
Anyway, well, thank you for the time. Thanks for
sure.
everything you do. And I know you've been instrumental in a lot of things that have happened here.
Well, it's a great organization. It's a great event. Appreciate you being here. It's always good to see you, man.
Always. See you later. If you remember some years back on Shooting Gallery, we shot up one of my neighbor's houses, right? But we did it with S.I.R.T guns, so we didn't leave any permanent holes.
No, just photons.
Mike Hughes and I here, it was great fun. I mean, you know, what could be more fun than shooting up your neighbor's like total kitchen? It works perfect. But Mike, one thing that everybody in this room says is their product is disruptive. Yours was. The S.I.R.T pistols changed the baseline for training. And you keep adding more and more S.I.R.T pistols. What do you think? How is training different after S.I.R.T than before S.I.R.T?
How's training different? Well, it's a good question because I look at it, training really hasn't changed at all since the dawn of man. We have to do higher repetitions. You take the samurai, you have to have so many cuts. You got to make it low barrier to entry. You got to make it convenient. You got to get some feedback. If you don't get feedback, if you try to shoot a basket against a brick wall, you ain't going to get good. You know, you need something so you need a feedback like, am I going to, hit it or not, right? Well, as a quality movement, do I got trigger control issues or do I got good trigger control? So, those are all just basic concepts, just applied to pistol craft and rifle craft too. So we're really excited on that.
Let's talk about this because everybody's got an AR, but AR training, once again, there are issues with it's a lot harder. But you've made it a substantially easier way to train with an AR platform.
Yeah. Well, to that end, Michael, I mean, just training the safety, gun up, safety down, right?
Yeah.
Gun down, safety up, training your offset. So we have a nice rail here. What's nice about this, again, is the economics. Like this just works well with your sling mounts and you can adjust the barrel length to run it how you want for flagging your muzzle and such. And then also just repurposing your S.I.R.T. So if you already have a S.I.R.T 110 or a 114, 115, right? This does a lot of the heavy lifting as far as reliability and trigger, resetting trigger and all that. Well, it just works extraordinarily well to pop it in, snap it in, lock it in up top, and you got a really nice rifle package to train around your house. Mama's not going to get mad when this is lying around. The AR, she can't, just doesn't feel right.
Yeah, you're carrying the gun around and
Yeah,
not
exactly.
the dog, not the cat, not the kid.
Yeah. So yeah.
But this makes it easy.
Yeah.
And that's the key thing. That's what you did with the S.I.R.T trainer, is you made it easy.
It has to be convenient, Michael. If it's not convenient, we're not going to train. I mean, whether it's a dieting regimen or stretching or whatever. Just getting really just quick, trainings in, all right? And then put it away, safe protocols and such, make sure there's no weapons confusion, and get it done. 20 seconds even.
There's a S.I.R.T on my desk and has been for years, and I believe that the light switch in my house has been shot to pieces. Basic training on it. I think it's great. I think you saw things in a different way, and then you figured out how to build a tool to make training easy.
Yeah.
If somebody wants this AR here, the AR platform gun, what are they kind of looking at? MSRP roughly?
Oh, it's like $239, but you find coupons and such, you're down to sub 200. Then you can get a S.I.R.T with that, like a Performer or Pro for like between 200 to 400, depending on the ranges you want there. So it just lasts a lifetime. The warranty's just stocked, just solid, and it's well built. I really, really like this product. It's really been badass. It's been going great.
I think that's super. A lot of time you may balk when you say I need to spend $200 or $300, $400 on a gun that doesn't do anything but shoot light. There is, to the best of my knowledge, no better trainer available in the world than the S.I.R.T trainer. And look at the ones we used on the Best Defense for years. They were our standard training pistol on the Best Defense. And believe me, we could pretty much have whichever one we wanted, but they were the ones that worked with Seeklander, with Janich, with Pincus before that. We were able to work around with these guns because they do exactly what you say they do. And I think it's great. And the other thing is you look at them and you understand that you can never get a bullet in there.
Yeah.
It's never going to accidentally shoot you, which is really critical. Mike, this is great. I think this is really a super step up, and everyone should get one.
Great, thanks, Michael. You're awesome.
Always.
Cheers.
One of the things you've probably noticed from our coverage here at the USCCA is the prevalence of training without ammunition. Well, that may be the single biggest central topic here. Let's talk about this system, because once again, this actually works. You can train at home, and this is something that's different from a lot of these. It's an app-based system. So talk me through it.
Sure. Well, what we have here is Laser. It's a web-based application that'll run on any device that has an internet connection, a web browser, and most importantly, a camera to look at your targets.
So if you're running off your laptop, you can just hook up to a cheap camera, and they are, right these days, kibbles and bits.
Absolutely. What we try to do is have a system that any person can run on a device they probably have today. So with the prevalence of people working from home, we have laptops, but then a lot of people have webcams, but then a businessman traveling or a family traveling might have an iPad or a Surface to use, and it can even run on an iPhone. So you can run iPhone.
And it works with S.I.R.T pistols, something we're familiar with.
Absolutely. Those are great products, and they pair excellent with the Laser system.
So explain to me exactly, let's say you want to do this,
Okay.
and you buy it. How do you shoot a training session with it? How does it work?
Well, how it works well to begin with. It does.
Let's go with that. It works well.
It does. But you can use any target and as many targets as you want. And in fact, what I do at home sometimes is I'll take my system and put it on face it towards the top of the fireplace, where you have like pictures, family pictures, little objects on the mantle. The system can identify common shapes that would probably be a target you would use, or you can actually put targets like we have here and identify it on the system by highlighting it, or the system will identify it as well. And then from there, you would just basically switch it to a shooting mode, and then you could line up behind your device and begin shooting at the targets with a S.I.R.T pistol or any laser type of device.
And it makes a lot of noise too.
It does.
Even better.
It does. It keeps people excited. It keeps people engaged, so that people who are training with it are familiar with the calls for fire when you're on the firing line. That's what we try to do.
But let's also talk about rough price, not necessarily right out, but roughly MSRP, somebody who wants to get into this, what is it going to cost?
Well, for starters, a person who wants to do this can try it out for, let's say we do a 30-day money-back guarantee, no issues at all. It's $9 a month, $65 a year, which someone has told me, based on math, it's equivalent of paying 7 months for having 12 months.
Yeah.
And then if people want to buy it outright, right now there's a lifetime license for $120.
That's great. That's great. Works with S.I.R.T. Again, we talked to Mike Hughes. We talked about S.I.R.T pistols. I'm a huge fan of them in training. We promoted them for a long time. And this gives you one more thing that you can use the S.I.R.T pistols for to keep your trigger finger sharp.
Absolutely. The whole idea is to get people to be more, to be safer, more proficient, and then as a result become more confident with their firearms and how they handle them.
Thank you very much. The only way to get better is to shoot more. I'm sorry, I wish there was a pill. When you see those commercials on some of those networks like Fox, it's like you don't have to ever eat a vegetable or a fruit again. You just take a pill that's got the right color. I've been looking for the pill that has the right color for trigger control.
There you go.
But I think I may have to go down here.
Well, absolutely.
Thanks, man.
All right, thank you very much.
Okay, we're here on the floor with Matt Mallory, who I've been on his show before. It was really a lot of fun. Matt's working with Mantis X. Let's talk about the rise of non-shooting training, which we're seeing all over the floor here.
So when we were talking about ammunition's hard to find, it's expensive, so dry fire training has just exploded in the past year and a half or so. Mantis being one of those devices that you put right on your firearm, and it shows you muzzle movement. As an instructor, both NRA, USCCA, and law enforcement, that's the thing I'm looking at, is how much that gun's moving and what that person's doing. The problem's on the shooter side, right? Not the target.
Right.
We got to fix what's here. So that the device, the Mantis X10, sits right on the Picatinny rail or on the bottom of the magazine. and any Picatinny rail area, even on your bow, and you're often seeing how that muzzle moves before, during, and after the shot.
Now, I've used the Mantis system, and it's correct, because as much as I've been shooting, I would think I could self-analyze
yeah.
what's going on.
Exactly.
But the computer with this system, with the Mantis system, I look at the readout and I'm
Right.
like, that's not what I thought I was doing when I pulled the trigger.
And you know, and I'll watch a student and I'll look at the target and I'll be like, well, that's not terrible, but we're humans, we're fallible.
Right,
There's
right.
room for improvement. And I'm like, but I can't see anything they're doing wrong. This device brings it down to such a micro level that we can't see with the human eye. So it really helps us delve into that issue, because we can't watch everything: breath control, trigger
Right.
control, stance, grip. I mean, we're watching one thing when something else could be the problem, and we take our eyes off that and look at the other thing, that's the problem now. So we're jumping around and it's not being efficient. Mantis X makes you be more efficient.
Mantis X has added the laser fire system, so
Yep.
it's a step up. You've
Yep.
got laser, target, so
Yep.
you're shooting the laser gun and you're getting all the advantages of the Mantis system with what amounts to being able to set up a match in your house.
Very true.
A training
Very true.
cycle in your house.
Right, so the X10 works on the gun side of it to see how much the gun's moving or not moving. You want it to move the least amount as possible. But then we also have targets on the other side with the training academy where you can actually see where your impact is to get feedback on that side too. And then coupled with the Blackbeard, which you can put in your AR, now you have a resetting trigger with a laser, with a green laser or a red laser. You pick the type of laser or no laser to actually see that impact and also work with the Laser Academy.
This is important because the only way you can get better shooting is shoot more.
That's it.
And when ammunition is hard for me to get, I've got to feel it. Ammunition is pretty tight out there all the way around.
For everybody.
Matt, as always, thanks. Look forward to being on the show again.
You bet.
Okay, kids, that's the end of our special coverage for the USCCA Expo and Training event for 2021, and of course we'll be there in 2022. It's an organization I like. It's an organization you should look into. By the way, that is where I carry my concealed carry insurance. I'm Michael Bain. This is Triggered, our specials brought to you by Midway USA, just about everything for shooting, hunting, and the outdoors. And as always, you can find us on our home site, michaelbain.tv, or on YouTube or Rumble, and we'd certainly appreciate your subscription.